Hey, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Let's get cozy. So today is going to be one of my longer videos because I will be doing a book review. Single Sister Experiments, written by Mimi Jefferson. What happens when single women stop having sex? So this is a Christian fiction novel, but it's a very good novel. And it's pretty much about three women that were poured into an experiment to pretty much go cold turkey on having sex until they were married. Now, I have some pages of some notes that I took out of this book. So, most things that I'm going to be reading is just some notes that I took. Some points that I make, I may expand on them a little bit, but some I may not. And so if you stick with me through this entire video, I'll give you enough to make you want to read the book, but not too much. And if you don't want to read the book, then I'll give you everything that you need so that you don't have to read the book. But I do recommend reading the book if you have time. If I would have went straight through, I probably would have finished it maybe in a month, but I didn't go straight through, so it took me about maybe 2 months to read it. I think, let me see how many chapters it is. It has 31 chapters. So this is the first book that she wrote, The Single Sister Experiment, and then she wrote a continuation. It's called The Bride Experiment, What Happens When Single Women Gets Fed Up. So read this one first and then read this one. This book will be, it'll be a separate review. So let's get into it. The first point is refuse to bet a man who has not made a commitment to you and God. And then it poses the question, what would happen if you decided to stop having sex? With me, I'll answer the question. I have been celibate for 11 months now. So what happened with me is that my mind and my heart is very clear. Very clear. I'm able to make decisions regarding my personal work and just overall in general life without feeling weighed down because I'm giving myself to someone that's not my husband. My mental clarity is very clear. There's no absolute judgment coming from anywhere. And so my decision making has been, it's been very easy for me to make decisions. Now, I'm pretty sure you want to ask me, am I dating? The question is no, I am not dating. And I believe that I am not dating because anytime a guy approaches me, I let them know that I am celibate until marriage. And it's just not something that they're willing to, that they're not willing to do. They're not willing to wait. And that alone lets me know that if they are not willing to wait, then that just means that they are not the person for me. So it definitely helps me get rid of the ones with bad intentions. So that has what happened to me since I've stopped having sex. My mental clarity and my heart has been very pure, very clear to make decisions regarding my overall general life. Some of you will endure a painful self-analysis as you discover the lies, liars, and your true self. That has been true for me. When I decided to, and I may break this into 2 videos because like I said, I have 2 pages of notes. Now that I'm single, my marriage taught me a lot. It taught me what absolutely not to deal with anymore in life. It was that bad. And so, I'm not gonna lie. I did try to start dating while we were separated, and it just wasn't. It wasn't very good for me at all. And as I sat in a daze of being alone and watching my husband, because we were still married, we were just separated. As I sat by myself and was watching my husband have a girlfriend and him bringing his girlfriend around me to try to make me jealous or whatever he was trying to make me do, I was like, man, I want to be in a relationship, but I knew that I just really wasn't ready. So I literally had to just force myself to be by myself and do a complete self evaluation, self analysis on what I had been through in my marriage and what I needed to get through in order to get to God's relationship with me. So, with that being said, it was some very hard times. It was some crying in the closet. It was some praying. It was some waking up crying, crying while getting dressed, clearing my face, washing my face to go to work. On my way to work, crying, clearing and washing my face to get into work, crying on the way home, picking up my kids, going home, crying, then crying myself to sleep, and then waking up and doing all of that all over again. But I am whole, I am healed, and it was definitely a learning experience for me. No one will ever love you as much as God loves you. Surrender your life. Pray for guidance as you grow into the woman God has called you to be. That was something that I did right off the bat, before I even decided to read this book, because I knew that I needed a supernatural help, because humans were not and would have not been able to get me to the point of where I am today. In the book, it talks about how pretty much a girl's relationship with her father sets the tone for the men that she deal with in her life. So the question posed, how was your relationship with your father? How did that affect you growing up, in adulthood, and in dating? This is a very touchy subject for me. As a little girl, my relationship with my father was good until he got married. Now, this is just me. This is how I perceived our relationship. So we had a very good daddy-daughter relationship up until he got married. When he got married, I felt like he chose his wife over me. How did that affect me growing up? Pretty much, it really didn't have an effect on me growing up, because I stayed with my mom, but I would visit my dad, so we still had that relationship. I just felt like our relationship wasn't as strong as it was when he was a single man, because he was trying to make sure that his wife was good. In adulthood, I feel like my dad didn't teach me the basics of what to look for in a man. And as he saw what I was going through in my marriage before I got a divorce, he would try to give me some advice on, well, have you talked to him about how you feel? Have you did this? Have you did that? You can't beat around the bush. You have to say, hey, this is how I am feeling. What are you going to do? And so, I feel like that was probably like the only advice that he gave me about how to deal with men. In dating, I pretty much just had to navigate dating by myself. I'm not gonna sit up here and lie. Me and my dad, we did not talk about boys. We didn't talk about relationship with boys. We didn't talk about any of that. So those are my answers to the questions. Don't live to please your friends with benefits. Don't live to please your boyfriends. Live to please God. I feel like that statement is very self-explanatory. You cannot trust God if you are still holding on to what He said let go of. If you trust the Lord, trust Him completely. This is something that I continue. I'm not gonna say continue because I feel like I'm almost at that 10th mark of I got it. But I will say that from the point of me being separated up until this point, maybe October, I struggled with this because I would pray for God to, I would pray for me to surrender, but I was still trying to control what was going on in my life. And that's just not, it was just not a battle that I was going to win, because I was praying for my breakthrough, or I was praying for this, but I was still trying to control it. And you can't pray for something and still try to control. You have to just give it over completely to God and just let God do what God gonna do. If you are single and the man you have in your life is not a man of God, you need to run, not walk away from him. You need to run, not walk. With that being said, my now ex-husband, I'm not gonna say that he was not a man of God, but I am going to say that he was not a man of God. For the simple fact that the way he decided to handle things. We did go to church sometimes, but not all the time. Not any of the time did we apply to what we were actually learning in church. We never applied it to our marriage. We never applied it to our relationship. I think it was just more so of going with the flow of church, and just knowing that, you know, church is routine. So it was just pretty much going to church was routine. At least that was my take on it. I don't know what his take would be, but what I do know for sure is that whatever we learned in church, it was never applied in our relationship that turned into a marriage. And it definitely wasn't applied in our marriage. You cannot be participating in a sinful lifestyle and expect to get closer to God. And that just really takes me back to another video where I was talking about church for me and how I was in ministry, but my private life wasn't matching my church life, and my church life wasn't matching my my private life. And I feel like, and I know from my own experiences, that we cannot be having sex or participating in fornication and then trying to be closer to God. It doesn't work that way. Yes, we sin on a daily basis. Sometimes our thoughts are not pure. Sometimes we cuss. We're having sex. We're gossiping. You know, we fall short on a daily basis, period. But when you know that you have fallen short, you know, you sometimes, not sometimes, all the time, you just have to just really go to God and just be like, God, I know I did this, I know I did that, forgive me, help me to do better. And I know from experience that if your heart is pure and He knows that this is something that you really want to do, He will give you the desires of your heart. You can't love the world and God too. That's self-explanatory. Being double-minded, being straddled fence, you have to choose one side. You can't be in the middle. You're lukewarm. You're either hot or you're cold. Don't knock or judge anyone's lifestyle. Know that with God, anything is possible. That's a very powerful statement. I don't want you listening to my videos thinking that I am judging you for the lifestyle. that you have. That's definitely not the purpose of my videos. The purpose of my videos is to pretty much show you, tell you that I've been through all of these experiences. My experiences may not have been your experiences, and vice versa. My lifestyle may not be your lifestyle, and vice versa. Everybody has their own lifestyle. Everybody has whatever that they believe in. But I feel like at some point, maybe not, that you too will get your calling to Christ. It took me, I'm 31. It took me up until the age of 30, literally, to just be like, God, I've tried doing it my way. Now I want to do it your way. And the only thing that I can do is help you and show you and tell you what I've been through and how when I made that transition, things got easier. They get harder because, with new levels become new devils. But I feel like if you just continue praying and continue being watchful and thankful, you'll get through. Journal, think, pray, and relive things. After you have relived those things, process it and give it over to God. It's no longer yours. I feel like when we are in these toxic relationships, or we have toxic friendships, or we are a part of a toxic family, when we are going through it and once we're out of it, we're not processing it. And when we are not processing that loss or anything that has really happened in our lives that has been traumatic, we're only keeping that door open for more traumatic events to get in. When something bad happens in your life, it's very important that you process any and everything bad that has happened. Pray about it, write it down, journal about it, give it over to God, and leave it exactly where it is. Don't pray and journal and then go back. No, give it over to God and go ahead and move on with your life. And just know that God is going to fix it. Don't spend your days asking why me. Instead, ask what now. In my marriage, I knew that I was marrying to get divorced. I got married for all the wrong reasons. I know that I did. I can say that because it's true, for one. And I know when we do things that does not align with God, and we ask God to bless mess, in which he never does, we always ask, why me, God? Why me? Why would you allow this to happen to me? Did he really allow it to happen to you? Or did you ask and he showed you and you chose to turn away? Like, whatever. That's not real. I say that because I did it. Too many times I asked God to show me if this relationship was for me. God showed me, and I was like, God, you're going to have to give me another sign. He gave me another sign, ignored it. Gave me another sign, ignored it. Then I married him. Asked God to give me signs in my marriage. He gave them to me. And I was like, God, whatever. Now, I'm not going to lie. It was times to where I did give my marriage over to God and things got better. But as soon as they got better, I stopped praying. And as soon as I stopped praying, God stopped showing up. And he was showing me right then and there that in order to even have this relationship or have this marriage, and for this marriage to work, I have to be a part of it. And if I'm not a part of it, it's not going to work. And God was not a part of my marriage. And that's just me being completely honest. He wasn't a part of my marriage, and that's why my marriage didn't work. And that's why my now ex-husband was a Rolling Stone. Ask yourself what I wished somebody would have told me before I had sex for the first time. I'm not gonna answer that question. While working on your mind and spirit, you may as well work on your body. All three work together. Um, on my vision board, I stated that I wanted to get my mind right, I wanted to get my spirit right, and I wanted to lose 50 pounds. Now, I had a late start because I went back and forth with the idea, and I only had a late start with my weight loss. As far as my spirit and my mind, I started getting my spirit and my mind together in 2018 when I decided that I was going to leave my husband. Um, so that started right off the bat. As far as my getting my body together, that didn't start until like maybe June, and I was when I reevaluated or refocused on the goals that I had set forth for myself for 2019. So in July, when I decided to reevaluate my vision board, that's when I was like, man, I have not been working on my weight loss goals. So in June, I decided to join. I love kickboxing. And then I decided that I wanted to take things up to another level because I wasn't losing the weight. So I got a personal trainer. So from July up until now, I have lost 24 of the 50 pounds that I put on my vision board. If certain clothes cause men to look at you lustfully, stop wearing them. If your friends are leading you to do or think ungodly things, you must give them up too. That one was a big one for me. Now, I don't wear inappropriate clothes anyways. Cuz I'm 31. So if I'm going to put on a dress, it's going to be, a little nice dress, down to the knees, maybe with like a little midi split or something, or like a real cute long maxi dress. I definitely dressed appropriate. Now, I'm a good looking woman, and if I put on something that's really nice, and this is for any woman, men are visual. But at the same time, me having a long maxi dress versus another woman having on a little short dress showing cleavage and her butt cheeks hanging out or anything, a guy is probably going to look at her more lustfully than he will look at me. But men are visual, so that one is kind of up in the air a little bit. But anyways, giving up people, that is something that may be a little bit hard for me, for the simple fact that I don't have many friends anyways, and the friends that I do have, I think they respect what I'm doing enough not to invite me to places. So I don't necessarily think that, I'm giving them up in a sense. I do protect myself. Sometimes, I'll engage, and then sometimes I just won't engage with what's going on in their personal lives, because if I overly engage, then that's something that's going into my spirit, and then I'm a visual person too. I'm not finna sit up here and lie. I am. And so when they tell me stories, sometimes I can visualize it. And, I may start reacting in ways that I don't need to react. So I just don't overly engage with my friends of things that are just really not of a godly nature. Ask yourself, when the year ends, do you still want to be facing the same battles you were facing when the year started? To answer that question, no. I do not want to face the same battles that I was facing when the year started. I feel like I should be at a different point, stage, and level in my life. If I'm finishing the year how I started, I've made no progress at all. So that's definitely a good question that you should be asking yourself. Everyone will not decide that they want to try something different. They will rather hold on to what is familiar to them rather than embrace something that is new. Know that this is okay. Continue on with your journey. Not everyone is called right away. I had to repeat that sentence many times because um, when I made the decision to, not when God told me that I needed to stop having sex, and He told me back in January, you need to stop having sex. I was like, God, ain't nobody finna wait for me. Like, it's too many women that's just freely giving it up. And so I went on and had sex again, and at that very time, that's when I regretted it. Like, I felt so guilty, and at that point, that's when I just knew that having sex was just not for me. And so I was like, okay. And so it was hard for me to tell people initially that I was celibate until marriage, because I wanted people to get to know me for me at first. And then as I started receiving a lot of backlash about nobody wanting to wait, or me investing 2 weeks into somebody and then let them to know, and them leaving because it's not something that they were willing to do or want to do, I started telling them right off the bat, like within the first 3 days, hey, I'm celibate until marriage. I'm not wavering on that. It is definite. No, I'm not just saying it just to see if you're gonna stick around. I have been celibate for this long now, and yeah, and no time lost. 3 days, you're out. So that has been a very good one for me. And also me letting them know that I am, and them leaving, that's just something else that gets rid of them, because I know that if they're not willing to wait, then they're just not the person God has for me or my life. You are not the person you want to be, but you are not the person that you were. That's a good one for me. And I know it's a good one for a lot of different people, because especially when we want to transition and when we want to better ourselves, it is a struggle in the beginning, because you're so used to handling things not necessarily the right way, but not necessarily the wrong way, but not all the way the right way either. It's like, I'm gonna talk to you professionally, but I'm still gonna cuss you out, and then I'm gonna finish talking to you professionally. No, you gotta remain professional all the way through. And so I'm not who I want to be, but I'm not the person that I used to be, and where I am is where I need to be. So I'm in a middle, more towards the right, because I'm definitely not moving backwards. I want to continue progressing and moving forward. Be yourself. Tell it like it is. You will be surprised at how effective that is. I am still struggling with that one. I feel like sometimes people are not they're not receptive to change, especially if they know you are the person that likes to have fun. You are the person that likes to drink. You are the person that likes to go out. And I still have fun. Don't get me wrong. Now, I don't drink anymore. I don't drink hard liquor. I will have a glass of wine, like here and there, but I'm still kind of up in the air about drinking wine. I really need to get in my Bible, because I tend to ask people or, like do research, but I need to get in my Bible when it comes to drinking wine, and I'll do that sooner than later. Um, I'm afraid to tell the truth to certain people because I feel like certain people will try to hold my past against me. And I'm at peace with my past, and I have healed from all the hurt, and I've progressed through all the pain. But when people don't necessarily understand that, they try to hold you to who you were or who you used to be. And so, not everybody is where I am. And I just have to accept the fact that maybe God just hasn't called them to be where I am at that point. So, I do try to tell the truth the most part. I don't lie. I just don't tell it how it needs to be told because I be trying to like spoon feed people, I guess. Now, there are a couple of friends that I will be like just truthful to, and I don't care how you take it. I don't care if you get upset. And I'm only like that with them because they are like that with me. Repent your sins and pray for God to show you the plans He has for your life. That's something that I do. There are people in our lives who help us to discover our divine purpose. And then there are also people in our lives who are poisonous to our finding our divine purpose. They have their own limited expectations of God, and if allowed to, will poison everybody around them. This is why I am a loner for the most part, because me going to church is different than why other people go to church. Me going to church, I'm actually wanting to learn. I'm actually wanting to apply. Other people going to church, it's just because it's something that they're used to doing. It's routine for them. So this is something that they have to do. So with me going to church, with me applying what I've learned into my life, and with me connecting with other people of where I'm eventually trying to get to, that's kind of what I stick to. I have friends that I talk to about church. I have friends that I talk to about church and business. And when I say business, I mean like trying to open up my own business or establish my own business. And then I have friends that I don't necessarily, we talk, but it's about like worldly things. It may be of some stuff that is significant, but for the most part, it's just really about worldly things. And quite honestly, I just really don't care about worldly things anymore. Create your own dreams for your life, pray and flourish. It has been on my mind and heart to start this YouTube channel since the beginning of 2019. And I fought against it for the longest, but then I feel like God was just really sending people into my life telling me this is something that you need to do. And what's funny is because when I did this questionnaire a couple of years ago, back with my now ex-husband, I asked him, I said, hey, what do you think I'll be famous for? And he was like, you'll be famous for running your mouth because you like to talk. And when I saw that, I was like, oh my gosh, she said that so many years ago. And then my oldest daughter, she's been on me about her wanting to start a YouTube channel. And then with me just posting like little mini videos on Instagram. If you ever want to follow me on Instagram, my name is ccrich_unplugged. People would tell me, I really enjoy the things that you have to say. And they would also say, that they would look forward to getting on Instagram just to see what I had to say on that particular day, or just in general. And so that just really made me feel good about myself, because I know that the things that I'm talking about, it wants to be heard. And then you just never know. You may be the person that God is sending to them to talk about, a particular topic, because maybe they're, struggling with some things in their own personal lives. So, just really listen. And your dreams are your dreams. Pray about your dreams and just flourish. And don't ever allow for anyone to tell you what you can and cannot do. If you set your mind on doing something, just pray about it and just go ahead and get it done. And if it's something that God wants you to do, He's gonna make it flourish, and He's gonna take it over the top. So just make sure your dreams are your dreams and not anyone else's. How do you manage to live in this world and not be a part of this world? It's hard. It's very hard, especially when it comes to dating. I'm not gonna necessarily say the sex part. It's more so the dating part. Sometimes I get to a point to where I want to choose, and I quickly remind myself, Clinisha, you know what happened when you chose for yourself the last time and the time before that. This is what you ended up with, because you typically choose wrong, girlfriend, and you definitely have to wait on the Lord. And so, living in a world and not being a part of the world, you definitely have to isolate yourselves. You definitely have to pretty much check your spirit, check your mind, and just making sure that whatever you're doing is what God wants you to do. And just making sure that you are aligned and not overly putting yourself out there in a world. Now, with me, I listen to a lot of gospel music. I listen to a lot of neo soul. Um, sometimes when sometimes when I'm wanting a relationship, I tend to listen to a lot of love songs. But I've even had to watch that, because feeling like I want a relationship and then listening to a lot of love songs, it puts me into a mindset of I'm missing out on something. And when I get to that point of I'm missing out on something, I have to change the channel, and I have to just really go back and reflect and just be like, Clinisha, you're not missing out on anything, and that when it's your time, God is gonna send you your person. Don't choose for yourself, allow God to choose for you. So seek God approval and His only. Self-explanatory. Even though we all do what we feel is right for us, we will never have peace until we find peace in Jesus. That is very true. I'm going to say it again. Even though we all do what we feel is right for us, we will never have peace until we find peace in Jesus.